Yep. Welcome, everybody. For those of us that can see me, you're on Zoom. We have people on Zoom, but we're also streaming live on YouTube. So my intention was not to make this really, really long. So that whoever it is that wants to catch the replay will just play on. So that everybody on YouTube, I say hello. It's been a while that I've been on YouTube, but then I just want this teaching to also go live on YouTube so that everybody could catch a bit of it. But then the people I can see and communicate with are those of us that are on Zoom. Nice to have us and welcome. Thanks for spending a part of your lunch break with me. So today, all I want us to speak about is you are your environment. You become your environment. You are your environment. The tendency that we become our environment is a very, very high likelihood. So we become our environment. So welcome, 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 wherever it is that you're joining from. If you're on YouTube, you can put in right there where you are joining, where you're watching us from. And those of us on Zoom, let me know where you're connecting from. I can see many of people in my community, but if you were invited, please do let us know. Let us know where are you connecting from. Once we're live for 5 minutes, I want us to go into the meat of today. I don't want us spending a lot of time so that whoever it is that wants to catch on the replay, it doesn't look like it's too much or too long to watch. I want it to just be straight to the point. Wherever it is we end for today, we just end right there. And then we continue. Yeah, I can see a lot of people joining from Lagos. You're welcome. Yes, Abuja is coming in. Port Harcourt. Nice one. Nice one. Nice to see Germany. Hey. Thanks a lot for joining, sis. I see you. Thanks for joining. Yep, we are welcome. So if you are joining on YouTube, please just drop a comment and we will see it. I'm going to try to see it also live if you are joining from YouTube. But this is specifically for my community in my community that I just decided to have a little chit chat with them. And we're looking at you are your environment. But then we decided to stream live also on YouTube. It's been a while on YouTube. So if my YouTube family sees me, then that's a beautiful one. Thank you so much for joining. So I want us to go straight into the meat of this event so that whoever is catching up on the replay, we'll just know that in 5 minutes, fast forward to 5 minutes, and then we are there. So here we go. We're looking at you are your environment. You become your environment. The tendency that you will become your environment is actually very high. And the reason for this is I'm sure you would have heard before, whenever we think about environment, the first thing that comes to mind is our physical abode, or where it is that we are currently at physically. But our environment actually speaks to a whole lot more than that. A typical example is when we see, if there's a child, a toddler, who suddenly displays a behavior that is not acceptable by the parents, the first thing you hear the parents say, I don't know where he or she learned that from. I don't do that. My spouse don't do that. I don't know where they learned it from. And if there's somebody listening, they will say, where have they been spending most of their time? So that person now, when the parents spoke, I don't do that, my spouse doesn't do that, you are talking about people now, right? So it goes beyond the physical environment. You are now talking of people that the child have spent time with, or people that the child spend time with or spend time around. Then you begin to look, which of the environments? Okay, is it in school? Is it a religious place of worship? Is it at grandma's? Is it at a neighbor's? Where exactly has this child spent time that is separate from where we have been, or for us to be able to track what has been going on in this child's life? So that tells us that the environment, when we speak of environment, we're not just talking about our physical environment. Oh, I see you from YouTube. I see you, Official 1SP. Thanks a lot for joining. I really do appreciate you, and your support has been massive and phenomenal. Thank you so much. So our physical environment is a part of the environment. But guess what? There is the emotional environment, there is the social environment, there's a spiritual environment, there's a psychological environment, there is the environment being the people or the persons that this child spent time with. And one of the ways that, or the way that we interact in our environment is through our five senses. So who has the child been listening to? Who has been the child? What has the child been seeing or watching? What has what has the child been feeling? The child's experiences so far, the taste, the smell, all of that joins to make what we refer to when we are talking about environment. So when we say you are your environment or you become your environment, we are speaking beyond just where it is that you are located. We are speaking also to the people that you interact with. We are speaking also to the things that you see, the things you listen to, or the people you listen to. It goes a lot more. Your five senses generally, that how you interact with your environment, that is what we refer to as your environment. I'm sure you would have seen or heard the saying, nature, we are how we were brought up, or nurture leads to nature. You are how you were raised. So the way you were nurtured becomes your nature. I would usually say to people that nobody was born shy. Nobody was born, I'm an introvert, or oh, I'm an extrovert, I'm bubbly, I'm here, I'm everywhere. Nobody was born that way. It was not factory. It didn't come with us as we were coming on earth. It was a behavior that we learned. And that's why we all have the tendency to unlearn and relearn certain behaviors in the situation or environment that we find ourselves in. And that's the beauty of it. So each time we speak about, oh, you are your environment, the first thing that hits us is, oh, what negative environment have I been exposed to? Or what negative people have I been exposed to? No, there's a positive, good side of it. So you blend and become the people that you spend time with. Because if we keep listening to a certain thing, those things form the thoughts that we begin to have, and we begin to form beliefs around those things. And once a belief is formed, guess what? An emotion automatically is formed. And then once an emotion is formed, it begins to yield the behavior that we have at the end of the day. Just like a chameleon, right? We have the tendency to blend into the environment that we find ourselves in. It is such a beautiful thing, or a beautiful ability to have, the ability to adapt to an environment or to any environment that we find ourselves in. So, but then it depends on that environment. Most times, adapting to that environment is just all we need to survive at that point in time. Because if you stand out, most likely you just might not make it in life in that environment. So you just need to blend into that environment, and then you continue to do life. But when you find out that, oh, this beliefs that I have formed or this behavior that I have adapted to is not suitable for the next place that I'm going to, then it is necessary that we begin to unlearn it and learn new ways that's going to project us to where it is that we're headed. Do you know that the Holy Book even says that if you walk with the wise, you are wise? If you are in the company of wise people, you are wise. There will always be a rub off. Always be a rub off. Growing up, when they say, show me your friend and I'll tell you who you are, it's as if, yeah, how do you want to tell me who I am by the friends that I'm with? But it says a lot. This definition of environment should tell us a whole lot about ourselves, because there is no how you are spending time with these people and then you are not thinking like them, you are not speaking like them, or you are not behaving like them. That is why we have a tendency to behave like our families. When you see all the family together, you know that they are a family. You don't even need DNA. to tell you anything. You know that these ones have spent time together. So we tend to begin to adapt to where we find ourselves at every point in time. So in this video today, I just want us to do a quick check on our own lives and then to ask ourselves, where do I spend most of my time? Or who do I spend most of my time with? And what sort of rub-off has happened? I don't want us dwelling on the negative, okay? I want us to also count our blessings. So even if it is a beautiful thing, a beautiful place, and the rub-off has been so beautiful and wonderful, I want you to acknowledge it. But if it is also negative, I want you to ask yourself, okay, so is it the environment? Is it the persons? How do I, if I cannot escape from this environment right now, how do I protect me from that environment? What do I need to do differently so that the negativity in that environment does not engulf me? That's a line of questioning that you want to ask yourself. So you want to flow in that direction and you want to ask yourself those certain questions so that you can make a headway. And since I have a bias for parenting, I'm definitely going to delve into that too. So what kind of environment have you been creating for your little humans? What kind of environment have you been creating for your little humans? You want to look deeply into it. You want to really zoom into it and look into it and ask yourself those type of critical questions. If they are old enough to speak, then you want to have those conversations with them. How do you feel when mommy is around or when daddy is around? You want to ask those questions and they're going to tell you. What is it that mommy does that you do not like? What would you love that mommy changes or that daddy changes? You ask them those critical questions, and then you begin to hear, when you hear them speak, you begin to know, oh, I've not been creating an environment that will enabling environment for my child. Then you begin to ask yourself, what do I need to change? What do I need to change about this environment to make it more conducive, a whole lot conducive for my little humans? Then you yourself, in fact, I love to focus on parents because when the parents get it right for themselves, the tendency that they get it right for their little humans is high. So you want to ask yourself, what environment makes you not produce your best self? So it could be your physical environment, or it could just even be the environment that you've created in your mind. So what's going on in your mind? Because it's possible that your physical environment is beautiful and positive. But when we are colored by when our vision or our perception is colored by our life experiences, it's difficult to embrace the beauty that we have right before us. So you want to ask yourself, because the perception that you hold colors everything around you, and we begin to give off a certain negative energy if the perception we have is limiting. So you want to ask yourself, what kind of environment do I dwell in that limits me or that doesn't produce my best self? Is it your social environment? Is it your spiritual environment? Is it your psychological environment? What environment do I spend time in that limits me and does not make me produce my best self? When you are able to identify that, then you can begin to make the changes that you need to make for you. Once you are able to make such changes for yourself, the tendency that you begin to create same change for your child is high, very, very high. So you want to ask yourself that question. You want to make the necessary changes, and then you want to implement or duplicate same for your children, for your little humans. And you find out that the environment will become very conducive for them. The reason for this, and I know I have said this in some of my videos, I don't know which one in particular, that we begin to raise generations of the same. You know, when people talk about strongholds that is difficult to break, most times it is this things that we have handed over generation upon generation upon generation. And if we continue in that line, you find out that you're going to be handing over same behavior to your children, and they will grow also, guarding it jealously, and hand same to their own children. So we want to ensure that we are handing over right beliefs, we're handing over right behaviors down to our children, that they will in turn hand over to their own children. So, what environment do you spend most of your time in that doesn't enable you to produce your best self? When we speak about environment, remember, we're not just talking about your physical environment. We're talking about your psychological environment. We're talking about your emotional environment, your spiritual environment, your the people you interact with, the people you spend a lot of time with. Who are you watching? What are you listening to? Who are you listening to? So all of that form our environment. So as parents or as people, caregivers, guardians, once you are able to get it right, you will be able to duplicate same to your children. So thank you so much, everybody. So I'm going to stop streaming on YouTube, but then because we have some little things I want to address in our community, and we don't want to put it out there. So we'll continue our talk. I can see some questions coming in on Zoom. So we will continue our conversation on Zoom, answering those questions while we log off on YouTube. Thank you to everyone who joined, who caught on the replay. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate you. So I will see you. Hopefully, I will do more of this and post more videos on YouTube. But thanks a lot for joining in. So now, back to us on Zoom. How okay, I can see your question. Yes, Dami, I see your question. Hey, we answer it before we go. I can see all the questions. Anyone that I leave out, it's okay. You can always